First, they put snakes on a plane. Then they put sharks in a tornado. And now, with advances in 90s cartoon technology, they've put spiders into dinosaurs. Or is it the other way around? Spidersaurs is a run-and-gun platformer originally brought to you by the brilliant minds at Wayforward and the shameless cash-grabbing lunatics at Apple. Or is it the other way around? Finally, it has broken the shackles of the App Store and is free to be itself on Steam. With good run-and-gun games being as scarce as they are these days, is this game the singularity that will save a neglected genre? No, Cuphead is. Don't be silly. But is it good? Well, they gave me a review key, so I'm obligated to say yes. But seriously, thank you, Wayforward. I am humbled at your kindness, especially for my small channel. Honestly though, Spidersaurs is a solid experience that is at least worth a look for run-and-gun fans. The animations and character design are great. It's definitely the game's strongest point. This is a run-and-gun platformer. If you're not into pattern memorizing and replaying levels to learn enemy locations and get good, you might want to skip this one. But if you like a retro challenge and can overlook some issues, this game might be for you. I found that my first playthrough was a struggle, and it wasn't until after a few deaths and some trial and error that I started to find my footing and began to enjoy the process of learning the game. It was actually my third attempt at Stage 2 when I beat the stage without a death. That sense of accomplishment spurred me on. The game is $20 and it only takes about an hour to beat your first time. Of course, if you suck, this may take longer, but I was able to go through most of story mode, get frustrated, brush myself off, get back to business, and then finish story mode on normal, unlock arcade mode, and complete a 2-credit clear on hard mode, all of that stuff in about 4 hours. Despite my failures, I also still maintain a desire to go back and try for some single credit or no death glory. So as a hardcore player, I would get my money's worth if, I hadn't gotten the game for free. I get the feeling that $20 is a bit much, considering that the Cuphead DLC was $7, and other $20 run-and-gun games like Hunt Down have a lot more content for your money. I don't think the price is unfair though, it just smells like Apple pricing. I think it would sit very comfortably in the $15 to $18 range. Story and presentation! This game has a story that I didn't invest too much time in, but the voice actors do a good job and the cartoony graphics are really great. They want you to feel like you're sitting in front of your TV on a Saturday morning while that pancake batter and bacon smell from the kitchen wafts through your nostrils, and in that respect, it succeeds. The opening to the game is really fun with its fantastic animation and catchy song. The Saturday morning feel of this game is a part of the magic that makes Wayforward games eye-catching and desirable. The characters are lively and it never loses that sense of fun. It's not particularly funny, but it moves at a good pace. If you don't like the cutscenes though, they are all skippable if you want. Gameplay. The other thing that is great is the control. It feels like a Contra game. The movement, jumping, and even the ability to hold position and fire are all here and seamless. There is weapon swapping and many weapons to choose from. It looks good and feels good to play. Every weapon has its uses. There is a piercing shot, a grenade that goes along walls, the legendary spread shot, the shot that chains lightning to things, and the traditional shooter made of peas.
Rosebud. Yes, rosebud frozen peas. Full of country goodness and green penis.
Okay, the pea shooter sucks, but there is no shortage of weapons to choose from. They tend to drop pretty often too. The male character has similar, yet slightly different variations of weapons, but I couldn't quite find one I liked. There are only 6 stages, but they are a good length and have checkpoints. In story mode, you can even select the middle checkpoint. If you can't beat a level, you can replay levels you can beat and rack up some lives to have a better chance at the harder ones. You start off with only basic movement, but clearing a stage will give you a new movement ability. First a double jump, then a smash attack, then a grappling hook, then a dash. As for difficulty, there are 3 difficulty levels, and the main difference is enemy density. The bosses are pretty much the same in all modes. I enjoyed playing on the rare or hard mode because the enemy density gives the game a better challenge and momentum. It feels a bit sparse on normal mode at times. There are some cheap things, but mostly the bosses are fair. If you think a boss is unfair, a few attempts will make things easier. One of the reasons to play a game for a while before doing a review is so things that give you trouble may not be so bad after some practice, and you may find new things to talk about that you didn't notice before. Sound and music. I didn't really notice much here. The whole thing has an 80s rock synthwave vibe. The clear screen music is a nice little bit of rock and roll. There's an opening scene with a catchy song and great vocals that would fit right in a Saturday morning lineup or a Cartoon Network anime dub. The characters talk during the game, but I didn't find this very intrusive. There is a handy feature to remove this if you get annoyed by character dialogue that is outside of a cutscene. I actually found it helpful once. There's one moment where the character will shout, "Out of the way!" before a big boss lunge attack. Overall, the music and sound are fine and do their job, but the music accompanies the gameplay well and is cool as a cucumber. Wait, why did I say that? I hate cucumbers. Speaking of things I hate... Complain. In high school, I once rented out a saxophone. The saxophone had many issues with the keys and some pads that didn't seal properly. I just got used to it and was able to find workarounds. Yet when I had the instrument inspected by my school private instructor, she questioned why I didn't get the pads and keys fixed. My special fixes and workarounds didn't impress her. She said that despite the fact that I had found a way to get around the problem, it didn't change the fact that the saxophone still had broken pads and other core issues. Just like in this game, I have found ways to work around most of the issues, but even though I have taken troubleshooting steps and gotten pretty good at certain parts of the game that first annoyed me, the game still has problems, and here are some of them. You get upgrades as you go, which means that the dash move and double jump are locked behind completing levels. There's a speedrun mode after completing story mode that lets you start with all the upgrades. Why not just have the movement upgrades and arcade mode unlocked from the beginning? I believe we should have choice when it comes to our games. The run and gun genre caters to hardcore players who watched 90s cartoons in footsie pajamas. We're old. Skip to the end. We want to shoot stuff the way we want without too many restrictions. Cutscenes can build atmosphere, but you've made a side-scrolling shooter, not an introspective reflection on the degradation of the human psyche. Or maybe you did, I didn't watch all the cutscenes. You have tanky enemies where you have to position your character and shoot them for a while. If you stand still too long, you have an enemy that sneaks up behind you and has almost no telegraph, and it seems to be pretty random. There are several things that ruin the pacing of the game. One is the tanky enemies, the other is the dreaded auto-scroller. I'm mostly satisfied with the auto-scrollers in this game. They don't overstay their welcome and are over quickly. But I would prefer no vertical ones. Let me go at my own pace. A real man lets his players do the pacing, especially if they're speedrunning. There are these little shelled guys or whatever that just pop up and shoot a projectile. They are fast, and if you do shoot them, they bounce around, and some of their placements are just sadistic. By far the worst enemy in the game. This is a PC port, and yet there are no graphic settings or controller vibration or any kind of in-depth resolution settings. The tutorial stage is underwhelming and has to be played every single time you start a game. This is a step back. It shows that you don't know your audience, or you underestimate your audience. Also, the stage is boring. Add more enemies, some explosion, something to make the player excited about what they're about to play. These flying bonus pods that have various effects are inconsistent. They fill the screen with stuff, yet don't kill everything and make it hard to see things. The enemies are still around, and I've been hit a lot during these effects. If you're going to play this game, pick the flash pod. It gets rid of all the enemies on screen. There is an insect boss that appears several times during the game. I think this is too repetitive, but it's not too hard of a fight, so I didn't mind so much. There is this one attack where he moves to the center of the screen to do a breath attack. If you're standing close to him, you will get hit, and there's no way of knowing whether you've done enough damage to start this attack animation. One of my biggest issues with the game are the weapon caches that fly onto the screen. There's no way of knowing what weapon it is until it drops to the floor and shows you. They fall in really awkward places too. A good run and gun gives you power-ups before bosses or in between areas, giving you enough space and time to get the power-ups you want. It is so annoying in games where the items designed to make your character stronger become another obstacle for you to avoid. It's really bad on some of the auto-scrollers and some areas where I have to guess what weapon it is or memorize which drops I pick up. All you have to do to fix this issue is show what weapon is going to drop before I shoot it so I know which ones I want. There are two bosses that I don't like much. One is the Stage 3 boss. He's a gimmick boss who forces you to wait until he opens up and shoots him. He has two main forms. This fight is way too long. Plus, the second part of the fight with the vertical scrolling section and small platforms suck. Also, this mini-boss that makes you push him into the lava to weaken him, You can't push him into an already active lava flow. You have to shoot him into position and then let the lava hit him as it rises or it doesn't count. This takes too long and relies too much on RNG. Anything involving an auto-scroller or RNG is really bad, especially if you're thinking of speedrunning the game. Speaking of speedrunning, let me speedrun the rest of this list. The game commits two sins. One is tanky flying enemies and spiderwebs that take one too many shots to break. If I dodge an attack, give me the satisfaction of it. There are too many attacks in the game that come at you and then try to come back and hit you like a drunken boomerang. Thanks, I hate it. Why are the two helper enemies on the sides of this boss so hard to see? They shoot projectiles that are even harder to see. The tunnel terror sucks, especially this poison attack that comes out a bit too fast. It also splits into three and stays there forever. Yuck. Stop putting tanky enemies in awkward situations. It kills the pacing, and this one on the auto-scroller is insufferable. There's also this part in Stage 3 where you put two of these super tanky enemies on the side of the screen. Why? Come on, put some iframes on the dash. Just a few. You know you want to. Do it. Whew. I feel like such a grumpy, elitist old man. But you know, I still enjoy the game. It makes me want to try again and get better. If I hated the game, I wouldn't want to try again. I also wouldn't take the time to report all these issues to help improve the game. I would like to believe that I am nitpicking for the player who is going to wonder why something about this game isn't clicking for them, or the developer who wants to improve their next game. I'm definitely doing this for the greater good, and not because, let's say, I'm still angry at Wayforward for making one of the best DuckTales games, but then adding that volcano escape upward scrolling section bullshit that is uncalled for and ruins the entire game. Totally something not petty like that. In conclusion, I think Spidersaurs is a good yet flawed game. I don't think it's the next great run and gun, or that it elevates the genre, but it does have a nice presentation and solid gameplay, with a decent amount of replay value for such a short game. If you like run and gun games, play this. It's great, it has all the right moves, it gets better as you get better. But as much as I respect Wayforward and the great retro-style games they make, I don't love all of them. In fact, there's always something in every Wayforward game that falls short or really annoys me. Shantae is really cool and a great game concept, but it has some issues that make the game's scenario hard to figure out and navigate. I get lost and irritated, and then I turn the game off. Maybe Shantae is not for me. But the DuckTales game was almost perfect, except for that one ending section, way more difficult than it should have been. Spidersaurs is also a great concept that is so close to being great, but is hindered by all of the issues mentioned earlier. I look forward, way forward, to the time when this talented company will make its flawless masterpiece. It will be a glorious day for all gamers and indie devs everywhere. I'm sure that such a day will come soon. We just have to wait a little bit longer. For now, I smell bacon and pancakes. Time for breakfast.